And welcome back to another episode of the Zero Technique Football Podcast. We are back for the 2021 season. I am your host, Ryan Stern. Throughout the season, we're going to be joined by multiple of the amazing writers that we have here at backsportspage.com. So make sure you're checking out the site all the time for the great stuff that's going up on a daily basis. Today, for our return to the airwaves, whatever you want to call it, we've got a special fantasy football draft edition. It is the backsportspage.com Writers Fantasy Football League, which will be getting underway in just a couple minutes. We'll be able to get a glimpse into how I approach my drafts. I know this past week was a big week for drafts. This coming week is another big week for drafts. So we're here to help you out in any way possible. We are going to have multiple shows a week. We're going to have on Wednesdays, our regular is going to be the generalized football show. Sunday mornings, we will have our lineup show that we had last year, which was such a blast. Derek, Tom, and I had by the end of the season, we were spending almost the entire show answering questions from our wonderful viewers and listeners. So can't wait to get back into that again this year. So here we have just a couple minutes before the draft begins. Let me pull this up. So I'm sitting here and I have the 9th pick in the draft. So I'm just going to get into a little bit of the strategies that I'm looking for when you are in the draft. One thing that you have to keep in mind, don't have one set strategy. You have to let the draft come to you. All right. Don't say, oh, well, I want this player and this player alone. Because what if something happens and that player does get drafted beforehand? So you have to let the draft come to you. At the 9th pick, to me, this is actually one of my favorite places to pick. One, because it's a prime spot for someone like a Travis Kelce. Now, especially in a league like we are in that uses FAB, the free agent acquisition bucks, getting one of those elite tight ends is going to save you maybe somewhere in the 25 to 40% range of your available budget, because you're not going to be going after those tight ends that are on the waiver wire. If I don't get one of those elite tight ends, then I'm probably going to be one of the last to draft a tight end, almost definitely one of the last to draft a tight end, only because once you get outside of the top 3, then you have the next tier, which I have a TJ Hawkinson. The top 3, obviously, we're going Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, George Kittle. Then the next, you have your Mark Andrews, who I love a lot because I think he is going to be the primary pass catcher down there in Baltimore. And then also TJ Hawkinson up there in Detroit. So that's the next tier. There are a lot of people who are going to have Kyle Pitts in that tier. I will probably not own Kyle Pitts in any league this year. Just he's going too high for a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends just don't produce on a consistent basis in the National Football League. Yes, Kyle Pitts is not normal tight end. But we are under the notion that the best rookie tight end performance in history comes from Evan Engram. Now, I don't think you would expect that Evan Engram to have the best at anything. So Evan Engram, that just puts it into perspective how hard it is for rookie tight ends to produce on a consistent basis. And right now, Kyle Pitts is going off sometimes as the fourth tight end off the board, sometimes as low as the sixth. That's just too high for me. I'm either going to be I'm either going to get one of the first three, or I'm going to look to play the streaming game. Now, streaming game is also something that now we are a 12-team, one quarterback league. It is a PPR. In a one quarterback league, that's another where I'm most likely going to be one of the last to draft a quarterback. I just think that building the depth amongst running backs and wide receivers is especially early on with the running backs. If I don't get someone like a Travis Kelce in the first round, most likely I'm going, because I'll be picking with the fourth pick in the second round, which is way too early for someone like Darren Waller. So I'll probably end up going running back at that spot. All right, and we are about to get underway. And so we have Jared Zero. He is our resident Patriot fan and also defending champion of this draft from last year. He goes Christian McCaffrey. Then we have Alvin Kamara going number 2 overall. Dalvin Cook going 3. I actually do have Kamara at number 2 over Cook. A lot of people have it switched up, but those are the first 3 that tend to go off the board. Then we got Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott. I have those flipped. I have Elliott at 4, Henry at 5. And then we have Chubb. So right there, those are my top 6 running backs. I then do have Aaron Jones, which I actually just swapped. I had Aaron Jones ahead of Chubb until the news that David Bakhtiari was going to start the season on the PUP list. That's one of the best left tackles in the game who is going to miss 6 weeks. So I did flip Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. Once we get past Aaron Jones, that's where I feel safe to draft Travis Kelce. So we're here. Saquon goes at number 7, which is a little bit surprising considering we don't know if Saquon is going to be ready for week 1 of the season. Let's see, who do we have on the board? We have Jesse Zaragoza, who is out in LA. He is our Chargers writer, does a great job writing for the Chargers and for the Dodgers, Lakers also. So here's where, again, when I actually have Travis Kelce ranked at number 8, I'm comfortable drafting him anywhere after those top 7 running backs. Once those top 7 running backs go off the board, I think it's it's going to be very interesting to see where those wide receivers fill in. I tend to I have Devontae Adams, I have Tyreek Hill, and then I actually have Calvin Ridley as my number 3 wide receiver this year. Stephon Diggs at number 4. Aaron Jones does go at number 8. So here I am, and I have the decision. Now, again, I don't know how many of my league mates are watching this live. So I am at a little bit of a disadvantage. But hey, that's what I'm here for. I am here for the people. So I have a choice now. Do I go after Travis Kelce, or do I play this waiting game? Because now, knowing your league mates and knowing the platform is a big thing. ESPN has Travis Kelce ranked much higher in their overall rankings than someone like Yahoo. So Yahoo has him down here at number 15. There's a chance that people just come here and they'll look and they'll see, oh, well, Davante Adams is at the top of the board. I'm going to do that. For me, I'm choosing between Jonathan Taylor and Travis Kelce. I'm going to play the waiting game. Let's see if Travis Kelce does fall to me. So we have I went with Jonathan Taylor. Then next up on the board, we got Lexus Rodriguez. He covers the Cowboys, obviously with that team name of Dak 316. So I am now biting my nails to wait and see if Travis Kelce ends up falling to me. So Devontae Adams does go off the board at number 10. Here we have Austin, who so Austin is our DC guy, along with Shelby is another Dallas as well, but I believe Shelby is in the DC area though. So Tyreek Hill does go off the board at number 11, and we have Shelby, another one of our Cowboy writers, rounding out the 1-2 turn with his pick. So now again, and there's Stephon Diggs. So we're starting to see a run on the wide receivers. There are 4 picks left until mine. We have DeAndre Hopkins then. So now, to me, with 3 picks to go, I'm either going to get Austin Eckler, Antonio Gibson, or Travis Kelce, which I am completely fine with. Either of those 3. I would take Kelce, then Eckler, then Gibson. In a PPR, Austin Eckler, I think, is going to be... I have him on a couple teams so far. I think he is going... and there goes Travis Kelce. So my gamble did not pay off. I did lose out on Travis Kelce. So now I come, and there goes Austin Eckler. So now I'm back on the clock. We have the choice for me is between those top 2. It is between Antonio Gibson and Calvin Ridley. For me, I love the value of the wide receivers in rounds 3 and 4 more than I like the values of the running backs that are going there right now. So as much as I love Calvin Ridley, I am going to go with Antonio Gibson because, hey, we heard the Kyle Allen interview not too long ago, where he came out and said that the football team is planning on using Antonio Gibson the way that Ron Rivera used Christian McCaffrey in Carolina. That's enough for me. So we're going to go with Antonio Gibson there at pick 104. So starting off running back is something that I love to do, especially this year. The value of the running backs after you get outside of the second round, just you almost feel like, I have to start this guy. When there are plenty of wide receivers that I feel I can get in the 3rd and 4th round that I'm comfortable as my wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. So I do love starting this year with running back. Keenan Allen goes off the board. Again, there's another PPR monster. And then Najee Harris. I just haven't felt comfortable drafting Najee anywhere so far. He's either gone off the board before I'm comfortable taking him, or I'm just not in a position where I think the value is there. I think he's going to have plenty of volume, but I'm really worried about that Pittsburgh offensive line. And I don't know how many yards per carry, how many touchdowns it's going to yield for someone like a Najee Harris this year. Then finally, Calvin Ridley goes off the board. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, one of the most intriguing players in this year's draft. I mean, for someone who went so high in a lot of drafts last year, he still wasn't that bad, but he felt like a bust because of the fact that he didn't give you that breakout performance. And while we are in the middle of this draft, we are welcomed in by the one, the only, the king of BSP, our fearless leader, Randy Zelia, who is in the brand new digs of that house.
Yeah, I'm in the brand new digs as you hear the echo behind me, and we're rocking and rolling. Ryan, thanks for having me on for a few minutes. I really appreciate it, and it's getting time, man. I'm looking forward to seeing and watch. I'm gonna sit back in a couple minutes and watch you guys do your fantasy football draft, and I think we got all 12, right? All 12 spots are filled.
Yeah, all 12 spots filled right now. I know this may come as a shock to you. We're waiting on Jared.
Does the sun come up in the morning? Or?
Love you, Jared. So Jared ends up going with Justin Jefferson, and I mean, if he doesn't take CeeDee Lamb here, I'm just going to be absolutely beside myself, because he is the biggest for someone who's a Patriots fan. Oh my God, he went Mahomes instead of CeeDee Lamb. He even named his team CD's Nuts.
So who had the number one pick? Just
Jared. Jared had the number one pick. So okay. we just had the 2-3 turn, and he took Justin Jefferson and Patrick Mahomes. Again, I'm never going to have Patrick Mahomes on any of my teams just because I'm a late round quarterback guy. I just think the value of the quarterbacks between 1 and 12 is just nowhere close to what you're going to miss out in those starting running backs and wide receivers.
Let's go over the draft order just so I know, because I'm only here for a couple minutes. I'm going to have to run, but I wanted to make sure I came in.
All right, so let's see. In the first spot was Jared. Matthew Sargent was there at number 2. At number 3 is one of the newer writers to Back Sports Page, Maxwell. Then we got LaRon at number 4. Adam Teish with the wonderful team name of Bishop Sycamore. Is that not one of the craziest stories you have ever heard?
Always. Nothing surprises me anymore, but that's still, yeah.
It's unbelievable how ESPN can get duped like that. Then after Adam was Marthani Sanders, and we got Ahmed Shifa, then Jesse Zaragoza. And then after Jesse is yours truly. Alexis is there at number 10. At number 11 is Austin Urch, and at number 12 is Shelby.
All right. Well, listen, I hope you guys have a great draft. I encourage all of these guys to pop onto the show with you tonight.
Yeah, well, they all have the link, so they all know that they can pop on whenever they want. I hope that they're not watching me discuss my strategies live, which is why maybe I got sniped on Travis Kelce because I was professing my love for him. Yeah. But hey, like I said, I'm here for the people. If you are that confident in Travis Kelce, which I am, I should have taken him at number 9 and not hoped for him to come around in round 2, because more often than not, he will not be there.
Well, listen, I hope you guys have a good rest of the draft. Like I said, I wanted to show my face on here real quick. I'm I'm on daddy duty right now. So I
literally just escaped it. This is my escape from daddy duty.
Wow.
It is my my haven down here. I have transformed with my new job. Working at home, I have transformed my kids' playroom into my office, and slowly but surely, I'm going to not be able to convince my wife to turn this into a man cave.
Yeah, I have in the basement, a nice little studio. So I hear I'm getting called right
There we go. Oh, it begins.
I'll peace out now. I'll see you later.
All right, Randy, be well. All right, so that is our fearless leader, the founder of backsportspage.com, Randy Zelia. All right, let's catch up on the last couple picks. So again, I had my complete shock that Jared decided to pass on CeeDee Lamb by going Jefferson and Mahomes. Then we got McLaurin, A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, James Robinson, and George Kittle. So remember when I said I like the value of the wide receivers in the third and fourth round? Look at how good a wide receiver you can get here in the third round. And I'm going to absolutely jump all over drafting CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is one of my biggest risers. As long as I continue to see Dak Prescott continuing to improve his health, and all of the signs are pointing to him being able, that he'll be ready for the start of the season. We saw what CeeDee Lamb was able to do as a rookie, and rookie wide receivers early on in the season don't always jump off the board. CeeDee Lamb did. And that was when he was the third target. He was behind Michael Gallup on the depth chart, but it wasn't for long. CeeDee Lamb, I think, is already the number one wide receiver in Dallas, who is going to be one of the top offenses in the league. Yeah, I mean, it's, to me, that's tremendous value. I would be comfortable drafting CeeDee Lamb as early as the early third round. All right, so now after I went with CeeDee Lamb, you see Chris Carson, David Montgomery. So there's your your running backs that you can get in the third round. You get James Robinson, you can get Chris Carson, you can get David Montgomery. Those don't stand out as much as these wide receivers do. Someone like Josh Jacobs. See, this is why I am so comfortable going running back in those first two rounds. Then Chris Godwin and who was Robert Woods. So now I am here on the clock. And so now this is a flex league, so I am able to start another running back if I would like. To me, it's between someone like a Gus Edwards and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is one of your consistent guys who is always going to see a ton of targets. Quietly had 100 receptions last year when he had a down second half. But I'm going to actually go with another running back, someone who I think just steps in and replaces exactly what we were going to expect from J.K. Dobbins. I'm going to go with the Gus Bus, Gus Edwards. And I am now thrilled with having, to me, 3 top 20 running backs on my team. Tyler Lockett, see, there we go. Is that Jesse? I think Jesse's listening. He must know that we like Tyler Lockett around here. All right, so we have Ahmed Shifa on the clock now. So let's take a quick look at Ahmed's team. And he's got Saquon Barkley, he's got Najee Harris, and he's got James Robinson. So again, there you go. He has his 3 running backs. If I'm him, I'm not even looking at running back until maybe the 9th or 10th round, looking to get good values down there for my bench. But I'm really comfortable having those 3 as my top 3 running backs. if I'm him. Maybe those aren't the guys I'm necessarily targeting. I like, let's see, let's go to the draft results. So we had Barkley here. I have Aaron Jones ahead of Barkley. I have Jonathan Taylor ahead of Barkley. And I do have Travis Kelce ahead of Barkley. So maybe I'm comfortable with him around the number 10 spot. We all know how insanely athletic and what Saquon Barkley can bring to the team, but he can only bring it to them if he's out there. And the Giants have just been so overly cautious about giving him reps in practice. And we don't know exactly what his status is going to be for week 1. It would not shock me if Saquon Barkley is not there week 1. Ahmed, then, wow, Miles Sanders. So Ahmed goes running back with the first 4 picks. So maybe he's looking at trade value. But Adam is none too pleased with the fact that we get Miles Sanders and Damien Harris off the board. Damien Harris is one of those guys who I think really benefits from the New England Patriots deciding to go with Mac Jones instead of Cam Newton. Especially because of the touchdowns. Now, obviously, if the preseason says anything about what the New England Patriots are going to do, we may see Ramondre Stevenson in there at the goal line. But Cam Newton had the 5th most amount of carries inside, or the 4th most amount of carries inside the 4-yard line of any player, including running backs, last year in the NFL. So those carries are now, some of them will go to Ramondre Stevenson, but we will see an increase in goal line carries for Damien Harris. So, I mean, he's healthy. Everyone has been saying that he looks great, and so Damien Harris ended up going in the 4th round, the middle of the 4th round, which is a 2 to 3 round jump from where he was going early in draft season. So the word is out about Damien Harris. We got Matthew Sargent now up on the birthday boy is on the clock. Let's take a look at what he's got so far. So he started off the draft with Alvin Kamara, then went Darren Waller and Terry McLaurin. So he's going with the balanced approach, which, hey, to me, you get Darren Waller there on your team. He's one of those set it and forget it kind of guys. You're not going to have to worry about spending a whole lot of free agent acquisition bucks on your tight end spot there. He takes DeAndre Swift. So there's another one of those intriguing picks to me. DeAndre Swift is loaded with talent. We all know that. We saw what he did at Georgia, and we saw in glimpses what he was able to do in the back half of the season last year, especially in the passing game. But DeAndre Swift isn't healthy. Everything you hear from Dan Campbell is that there is a more than likely chance that we don't see DeAndre Swift in week 1. And even if you do, it's going to be on a very limited basis. So again, you're not paying the same value that you are for Saquon Barkley, but that really is a questionable spot for me. Then Jared rounds out the 4th round with Julio Jones. So Jared's roster right now, he's got Patrick Mahomes, he's got Justin Jefferson, Julio Jones, and Christian McCaffrey. So having Christian McCaffrey on your team sort of makes it easier to have a lesser RB2. But he ends up going with Kyle Pitts. So, Kyle Pitts, this is someone that we discussed right before the draft began. And also, if I do go with an early quarterback or an early tight end, there is zero chance I'm going with an early of the other. Those onesie positions, you're just ruining your depth at wide receiver and running back. So now Jared he has to wait 22 picks until his next spot. His most likely target for a running back 2 is going to be someone in this range. It's going to be Javonte Williams, which he's going to be splitting time with Melvin Gordon. You have Raheem Mostert, who I like, but can he stay healthy? And how much will the other running backs on the San Francisco 49ers touch the ball? He's not going to have your prototypical RB2 on that team. So that's another one. I will not go early quarterback, early tight end in the same draft. It's just something that I do not recommend. After Kyle Pitts, then we have Adam Thielen going off the board, Lamar Jackson in the going at 503, and T. Higgins. Man, these Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers are so tough to put your finger on, because you want to believe that Jamar Chase, that there was a reason that the Bengals went out and drafted Jamar Chase at number 5. That's because they think that he can contribute to this team right away. He has not had a very good training camp preseason. He's been battling those drops. And the more, again, we also have to remember it's been 2 years since he was on a football field, because he did opt out of the 2020 season for COVID reasons. But he does have his college quarterback there with Joe Burrow. It would not shock me if T. Higgins is the better wide receiver in the first half of the year. Jamar Chase is the better wide receiver in the second half of the year. And then you cannot count out someone like a Tyler Boyd. This team is going to throw a lot of passes. The thing that scares me about the Bengals is their early season schedule. They have an absolutely brutal first 4 games. They play 4 of last year's top 7 defenses to open up the season. So Joe Burrow is not a quarterback. So again, like I said, in one quarterback leagues, I love the streaming game. I'm just not comfortable having Joe Burrow as my quarterback for the first couple weeks of the season. Again, in a 2 quarterback league, that's just something that you're going to have to say. You're going to have to take it on the chin and say, I want Joe Burrow to be my quarterback in the second half of the year. So you're going to have to take the lumps for those first couple games. So I'm sitting here and I do have, I am looking at possibly a TJ Hawkinson, but again, I did go 3 running backs early. I would think about Hawkinson if maybe I went wide receiver, to, running back. But since I still do need a wide receiver, that's where I'm going to look. Brandon Ayuk is up there, but he's not the guy that I'm going to go after. Jerry Jeudy. I think the decision to start Teddy Bridgewater in Denver is going to benefit Jerry Jeudy the most out of all of the guys there. We saw what he was able to be the top wide receiver on that team despite catching fewer than 50% of his targets. That's how bad Drew Lock was for Jerry Jeudy. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to do that. Jerry Jeudy is going to have a monster year this year. And to get two of the top 15 picks in last year's NFL draft as my two wide receivers, we've seen those second-year wide receiver breakouts in the past. So now I'm sitting here with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy, which is an absolute. I mean, it's a thrill to have those two when you're looking at the running back depth that you have so far. Here, let me make this full screen, make it a little easier for everyone tuning in to check it out. So after I go Jerry Jeudy, then we see Mike Davis. Mike Davis, he has Christian McCaffrey to thank for only playing in 3 games last year. Mike Davis was able to shine as the backup in Carolina last year. Got a 2-year contract from Atlanta out of it, and he's the guy. They could have gone out and drafted a running back in this year's draft. They decided to avoid that position the entire draft. So there's nobody else that is on that roster that I fear taking the role away from Mike Davis. So getting him there at that value is wonderful. So now I'm back on the clock. The stack of Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb definitely is intriguing. But I think let's see. All right, so let's look at some of these players that are available. Darrell Henderson, hey, his stock has fallen a little bit since the acquisition of Sony Michel. You have the 49er running backs there. And you have the wide receivers are just, to me, they're a dime a dozen right now. So you know what? Let's do it. Let's stack Dak and CeeDee Lamb. As a Giants fan, I now have the Washington running back and the stack of Dallas quarterback and wide receiver. I am a little sick to my stomach as a Giants fan, but as a fantasy player, that is tremendous. So now, again, since I did go with a quarterback earlier than I tend to take a quarterback, I'm going to punt on the tight end position. So let's look at where the tight ends. So let's show drafted. So let's see how many tight ends have been selected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tight ends have been drafted so far. So you're looking at one of these 5 most likely to be my starting tight end. I'm okay. I'm okay with either of these 5. Right now, I would probably have them ranked Tunyon 1, Higbee 2, Logan Thomas 3, Noah Fant 4, Dallas Goedert 5. But since I do have Jerry Jeudy, I'm probably going to steer clear of Noah Fant. I don't like having 2 pass catchers from the same team. You're just capping your upside. So if I don't end up getting one of those, we're looking down here. Yeah, and then I'm probably just going to play the streaming game. I'm okay with someone like a Gronk, especially week 1 against Dallas. Someone like a Cole Kmet, maybe not as a streaming option for week 1, but Gerald Everett down there or out there in Seattle. these are guys that I am comfortable starting off my week 1 with. All right, let's recap the last couple picks. All right, so after I took Dak Prescott, then we had Justin Herbert go off the clock. So, hey, we're starting to see a little bit of a run on quarterbacks. And then Odell Beckham Jr. in round 6. And to be honest, that's actually that's earlier than I have seen him in the past before. All right, so yeah, what a fall from grace we've seen for Odell Beckham, who it wasn't that long ago that we saw him as a consistent first-round pick or early second-round pick, and now it may be a little bit of a reach getting him in the 6th round, but that's for me. I know his ADP is around that as well. Russell Wilson goes off the board to Marthani Sanders, and Adam Teich takes Javonte Williams there at pick number 68. Javonte Williams in a redraft is someone that I am usually not drafting. I think that there's a chance that Melvin Gordon starts the year as the primary ball carrier, and we see Javonte Williams slowly get introduced into the offense. There's a chance that if Javonte Williams has a slow start, his owner is going to drop him. And if he gets dropped, I'm jumping all over him because he's someone that I would love to have on my bench. And right now, he's just going too early for you to say, okay, well, I took him here. He's going straight to my bench. Unless you're going running back heavy. It's tough to pull the trigger for me. Again, now, keeper league, that's a different story altogether. In my 2 keeper leagues, that I drafted over the past week, I took Javonte Williams in both of them because I think this kid is going to be an absolute star in the NFL, and I think he's on the right team. So Javonte Williams again. Let's look to see what happens in the first couple weeks. Then we have Logan Thomas to LaRon Massey, who is down there in New Orleans. We're praying for you. I know you guys got absolutely decimated. We're hoping the best for you and everyone down there. Darrell Henderson finally goes off the board. That's great value. Aaron Rodgers goes to Matthew Sargent. And then we got Jared on the clock. And see, this is what I was telling you. So now, right now, Jared at the 6-7 turn goes A.J. Dillon, Juju Smith-Schuster. A.J. Dillon is now Jared's number 2 running back. There is no chance in hell I would ever get A.J. Dillon as my RB2. A.J. Dillon, to me, is a good RB4. I just think that there's too much of Aaron Jones, too much of Aaron Rodgers. I just don't see the path without an injury for A.J. Dillon to be a sustainable player in on your fantasy team this year. Looking at some of the other, so let's look at some of the other running backs. So Chase Edmonds actually just went off the board. Here, let's look after. So he took Jared took Juju Smith-Schuster after A.J. Dillon. Then you had Tyler Boyd, Tyler Higbee, Tom Brady, and Chase Edmonds. So I'm taking Chase Edmonds 10 out of 10 times ahead of A.J. Dillon. let's look at some of the other running backs. I'm probably not taking. I would probably take Trey Sermon ahead of AJ Dillon. I'd take Raheem Mostert ahead of AJ Dillon. I would take Ronald Jones over AJ Dillon. I'd probably even take Melvin Gordon over AJ Dillon. I get it. I get the fascination with how big this guy is. To me, it just I don't see the path to success for your fantasy team for AJ Dillon. So let's recap. After Chase Edmonds, then Jamar Chase, Kenny Golladay. I would love to have Kenny Golladay on my fantasy team. We just haven't seen him. We haven't seen him at all with Daniel Jones. He's been out for most of training camp, nursing a hamstring injury. Yeah. All right. So I am about to be on the clock. So Ben Roethlisberger goes earlier than maybe I've ever seen him go this year. Excuse me. All right. So now I'm here and I'm on the clock and I need wide receiver help. And there's one guy that sticks out to me. And that's the guy who could end up being the number one wide receiver for the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady loves him some Antonio Brown. And getting him at this value as your wide receiver 3, I mean, I'm going to do it 10 times out of 10. So I love the direction this team is being drafted. I've got 3, to me, again, top 18 running backs. I know a lot of people are questioning the Gus Edwards. Again, I said I'm comfortable drafting Gus Edwards near where I would have drafted J.K. Dobbins. I could have seen myself drafting J.K. Dobbins in the early 3rd round. So getting him in the 4th was, to me, tremendous value. So right now, I do have that tight end spot open. I'm going to continue to wait on tight ends because I just feel that I need more depth at running back and wide receiver. So after I take Antonio Brown, Cortland Sutton, Trey Sermon, Melvin Gordon, Deebo Samuel, and Jalen Hurts go off the board. Now, this is something that I know a lot of people pay a lot of attention to. I hate that they put it here. And that's these standings. Because it takes a look at what your projected total points are instead of the makeup of your team. So if this is what you're looking at to judge your team, stop. Just stop doing it. Because then you're going to find yourself focusing on, let's just sort by fantasy points and take whoever is at the top instead of drafting what makes more sense for your team. So now I am here and I am pretty evenly distributed between running backs and wide receivers. So there are more wide receivers that I'm comfortable with later on in the draft. So I'm going to look for a running back here. And Ronald Jones, to me, is the only one that makes sense, except there is a name here that I want to mention, and that's Jamal Williams. So Jamal Williams is going to be one of those guys, if you're going 0 RB and you want to get a running back later in the draft that you can plug into your starting lineup right away, Jamal Williams is the perfect guy for someone like that, because I think he's going to be heavily utilized early in the season. But I don't need that from my running back right now. I'm looking for depth, and I think the top guy right now is someone like Ronald Jones. So I'm going to take back-to-back Buccaneers, having them on my bench. So I know I said earlier that I don't like having running back and pass catcher from the same team. That's in my starting lineup. Having them on my bench is that's to me, that's preferred. I'm not going to say, okay, well, I need both of them to get plugged in right away. It's going to be an either or situation for me, because most likely the one spot that they're going to be plugged into is right here in this flex spot. So it would be, like I said, an either or situation. Noah Fant does go off the board with the next pick. Again, could I have gone with another tight end or with a tight end, especially considering when we were going through those top 5 that were still on the board, Robert Tonyan was my number 1 tight end left. All right, so this is another strategy that you should take a look at doing. Let's look, all right, at the teams drafting in front of you. So Jared, he has his tight end. He's most likely not taking another one. Matthew, he has his tight end, most likely not taking another one. Maxwell, he has his tight end, most likely not taking another one. LaRon, he has his tight end, most likely not taking another one. Adam. So Adam Teish is the only one right now that I'm worried about taking a tight end in front of me. Let's see. Ahmed just takes my my top tight end target with Robert Tonyan. Would I have liked to have Robert Tonyan on my team? Absolutely. But right now, I think that having the depth at running back and wide receiver is more important, because I just think there are too many tight ends that are in the same tier at this spot. Looking at someone like a Dallas Goedert makes a lot of sense. Or, again, the name that I brought up last was Gerald Everett. So then what we're going to look at, let's look afterwards. So Alexis needs a tight end. Austin doesn't. And Shelby doesn't. So if there are 2 tight ends that I'm comfortable with that are still there at my next pick, I'll probably wait again, because again, tier-based drafting. You got to look at what's in the similar tiers, and it's better taking a position that doesn't have as many players left in that tier rather than taking somebody at the top of the tier when you can just get someone that can easily replace them with your next pick. Adam takes Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill is one of my favorite late round targets. I think getting him in the 8th round, it just makes so much sense. Devonta Smith going off a little earlier than I've seen before, especially in redraft. But again, it makes sense. There aren't a lot of reliable pass catching targets in Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts is going to have to throw to somebody. And most likely it's going to be Devonta Smith. We saw quick glimpses of him in preseason, and we saw his route running ability that made him the number 12 overall pick in the draft, or I think it was number 12. It was either 11 or 12. I know it was the Giants, the Cowboys, and the Eagles were all lumped together. But his route running is why he was picked that high, and we saw it again in very small sample size. Then the Washington football team and Leonard Fournette. So now we have Jared back on the clock. And Jared apparently does not care about depth on his team, because as much as I've ripped him so far about his running backs, he then goes and drafts the New England defense higher than anyone else has picked him. Good luck, Jared. I'm interested to see if any of the guys on in the Back Sports Page League are watching. Shoot a message in the chat. Let's see if anyone is listening to my advice. All right, and Zach Moss. I'm steering 100% clear of the Buffalo running back or backfield. One, we don't know who it's going to be. Two, it could be both of them. And three, it could be the fact that they get a total of 15 carries to split amongst themselves a game. We saw Devin Singletary in for 12 snaps in the last preseason game, and he got one carry. Josh Allen is going to be the primary ball carrier in Buffalo. So, yeah, someone may step out of the other one's shadows between Moss and Singletary. It may happen. I cannot feel comfortable knowing which one it's going to be. All right, we're starting to see the run on defenses now. We even got our first kicker coming off before pick 100. So there's always one. So LaRon's on the clock. Let's take a quick look at what LaRon's got. So LaRon has Tom Brady with Cooper Kupp and T. Higgins, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, Logan Thomas as his tight end, and he has Devonta Smith on his bench. Kareem Hunt is an interesting pick because there's been a lot of talk about him being utilized more as a wide receiver this year. And how much are they going to actually take away carries from Nick Chubb if he is 100% healthy? LaRon goes with the homer pick and taking Jameis Winston at pick number 100. Adam Teich going with Corey Davis, and that's pretty good value for Corey Davis, who has really emerged as the number one target in Florham Park, New Jersey, is where the Jets practice, but over there at the Meadowlands. And here, so let's take a quick look at Adam's team. So Adam, he's got Ryan Tannehill, quarterback, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, wide receivers, Zeke and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Deontay Johnson is in his flex. He's loading up. So if you're drafting Javonte Williams, where he's not going to ask to be started right away, great. Then I approve of that value. Chase Edmonds and Corey Davis on the bench. So he's doing the same thing I'm doing. Going a little bit later with quarterbacks, punting on tight end, because we know that right now we're going to be in the streaming category probably for most of the year, looking for that potential breakout tight end. So remember, what I had said was between Dallas Goedert and Gerald Everett. So let's flip over to tight ends. Remember here, look, Irv Smith is there. He is out for the season. Do not draft Irv Smith. All right, so we saw Dallas Goedert go off the pick right before me. So that means Jesse decided to go with a backup tight end in the 9th round, while also having a backup quarterback. Interesting strategy. No bench wide receivers or running backs yet for Jesse. So I did say that I have now I have one tight end that I have left in that tier. So I am going to take Gerald Everett because I'm not sure what Alexis is going to do. He does have the tight end spot still open. So that's what that is. Again, it's another strategy. You have to know what the players picking ahead of you or between your next picks, what they have, because you can make a rational decision as to whether or not to wait on a position or grab what you need. All right, so now again, I am always going to be a second to last round, or most of the times a second to last round defense, a last round kicker. I will always be a last round kicker. That's just something that I will never draft a kicker out of that. Oh, there goes Michael Pittman, one of my favorite late round targets. All right, so now I've got pretty good depth at both running back and wide receiver. My better depth is at running back. Right now, I'm looking for upside. Where are we? All right, so I think the wide receiver that I am looking to target, I think I can still get him with the next go round. So I may want to finalize my my running back core. And I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake in a PPR league. We've seen that the Raiders do not care about passing the ball to Josh Jacobs, and they paid Kenyon Drake $8 million to come in. 2 years, $8 million, which is not chump change. That's money that you're going to use Kenyon Drake, and we've seen Josh Jacobs become absent from the Raiders lineup multiple times. Someone like a Sony Michel was another one that I was considering, especially because we have not seen Darrell Henderson do anything for a full season yet. So someone like a Sony Michel is definitely a player that I would be interested in as a just in case. But I think that there's more opportunities right away for Kenyon Drake than there is for a Sony Michel. All right, so we're looking. I do have 3 bench spots left in a 1 quarterback, 1 tight end league. I'm most likely not going to have a backup quarterback or a backup tight end, and never if you're watching, if there's one thing that I can hammer into your brain is never leave your draft with multiple kickers or defenses. Just don't do it. The depth is so much more valuable, and even at quarterback or tight end, but especially at running back and wide receiver. When you have those multiple positions, that's what you want to be looking at. All right, let's see if we can get some of these guys to hop on. All right, let's see. This one hop on to the stream. Sorry about that. Just sending a message in our chat. All right, let's pull up the draft again. All right, so Ahmed decides to go with someone like a Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, we heard this week, is going to start the season on the PUP list. The Saints do have a week 6 bye. The PUP list means you will be missing the first 6 weeks of the season. They do have a week 6 bye, so that does count. So even though it's a 6-week thing, it's only going to be 5 games that Thomas is going to be missing. What Michael Thomas are we going to see, though? That's the thing that's the main question that is going to be out there. We did not see a very proficient Michael Thomas when he was out on the field last year, and that was even with a Drew Brees. He was okay 1 or 2 games with Taysom Hill. We have not seen him with Jameis Winston. We don't know what that chemistry is. Now, again, we're here in the 10th round. It makes sense in the 10th round. You're looking for those high upside players that you're not going to need to force into your lineup right away. It's someone that, to be honest, I should have been based on the composition of my team and the fact that I am as comfortable with my starting lineup and my top 2 backups that I probably should have been looking in the direction of someone like a Michael Thomas, just because we do know that there is that upside in his game. He was the number 1 wide receiver for multiple weeks. All right, we're waiting on Laurent's pick, and we get the Tampa Bay defense. Here, so let's take a look at this again. Defenses are something that not a lot of people talk about. Let's do show drafted. So right here, we're in the 10th round already, and I know that there are a couple people who are on auto draft, so I don't know if that's why we've seen some defenses go earlier than I usually do, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defenses already taken. 12-team league. That means I'm sitting with my choice. I'm going to get either a Baltimore, a Denver, Cleveland, who I think is one of the biggest upside defenses this year. I'm not sold with Kansas City, with their defense. Indianapolis, they play in a division with the Jaguars, who have we all know Trevor Lawrence, but he still is going to be a rookie. With the Houston Texans, I mean, this is a division that they should be able to have some really good defensive games. So the Colts are one of my favorite targets in fantasy drafts. I do like the Buffalo Bills. I do find myself drafting New England a lot of places. One, because they are a week 14 bye. So that means if I do find that rare team that you say, okay, they're now a defense you have to play no matter which offense they are taking on. You have the most games before you need to find another defense. So I do like having those later round, those later bye defenses. Also, the same goes with kickers. But I'm one of those guys who will probably have between 6 and 8 kickers throughout the season. It really is a streaming and luck of the draw position. So do not draft an early kicker. It's not necessary. All right, so now it is almost my turn. Let's look at some of the more recent picks. After Tampa Bay, Jamal Williams, Devin Singletary, and DJ Chark to round out the 10th round. And then Jared, who still does not want to draft a running back, goes with Joe Burrow for his bench. Then we have Will Fuller, Sony Michel, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Marquez Callaway, and Mike Williams. So now we're waiting on Ahmed to make his pick. Looks like it's going to run out, and there goes the Baltimore defense and Nyheim Hines. So let's go back here. Let's clear that. All right, so now I'm looking for high upside, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit to my favorite high upside guy, and that is Darnell Mooney. I think this kid has the chance, especially if we see Justin Fields earlier than expected. Justin Fields has a great arm. Mooney is one of those downfield threats who I think has the chance to break out and potentially be a top 24 wide receiver this year. He's one of those guys that I'm walking away with in most of my drafts. So I'm going to take Darnell Mooney here. I've now got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers on my bench. I'm feeling very, very happy with that depth. And all right, so let's see. All right, let's talk about, so if there is a quarterback so that I'm going to roster on my bench, it's going to be between 2 players. It's going to be between, we just talked about him, Justin Fields, or it's going to be Trey Lance. I do think there's a better chance that we see Justin Fields before Trey Lance. But should we see both of them early, I do think Trey Lance is the better option for your fantasy team. Why is that? Rushing. Quarterback rushing yards are a cheat code. It's why Lamar Jackson has an MVP under him. It's why Josh Allen was the number 1 quarterback in the league last year. Now, he doesn't put up Lamar Jackson numbers, but he puts up enough to get by. So if there is a chance that I am going to roster a backup quarterback in a 1 quarterback league, it's just that I don't want to miss out on, or I don't want any of my competitors to have the opportunity to get a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields. And with as solid as I feel this starting lineup is, I would be comfortable drafting one of those two. Let's see. So because of, you know what? Yeah, I don't need that quarterback. So I will wait until the next round. I'm now looking here for, again, I'm looking for upside. I want somebody that can potentially break out. And if there's one thing that we have seen is that the Raiders are comfortable with Henry Ruggs, with Bryan Edwards to be at the top of their wide receiver depth. Now, this is very interesting because I'm going to take Henry Ruggs because of the breakout potential. I now have the top 3 wide receivers in the 2020 NFL draft with CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs. So I now have 5 running backs. I have 5 wide receivers. If I don't get one of those quarterbacks, remember I said the only ones that I would consider rostering would be Justin Fields and Trey Lance. If both of them happen to go off in the next round or before my next pick, then I'm comfortable just going with another high upside running back. Now, why are we looking at high upside? We're looking at those flyers. We're looking at someone that has the potential to break out in week 1. And if they don't, we're comfortable sending them to the waiver wire. All right. So I end up. So let's take a look at the composition of my team so far. So I've got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson, Gerald Everett. I've got Gus Edwards in my flex, Antonio Brown, Ronald Jones, Kenyon Drake, Darnell Mooney, and Henry Ruggs to round out. This is a team that I can go into a season and say, yeah, I've got a real shot to win. And again, this is why you don't look at this. And you want to know why? Because this says that I am going to be behind Marthani. But that's because Marthani's drafted 2 quarterbacks. He can only play one of them. So there isn't a whole lot of and so you're looking at, that's 300 points. I'm only 100 behind him. I now, especially at running back, and running back depth is so important. My running back depth is right now, again, aside from Alexis. Let's take a look. Alexis has Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, Mike Davis, Raheem Mostert, Philip Lindsay. So he's got 5 starting running backs on his team. That's what you want to look at when composing your team. That's tremendous depth. And it's depth at running back that tends to win your leagues. All right, so let's take a look at some of the players that have gone off the board. The Cleveland defense got Greg Zuerlein. Trevor Lawrence does go off the board. Oh, and there we go. We got Trey Lance. So the guy that I was talking about. I'll take credit, Adam, if you're listening to the podcast, listening to the live stream. Yeah, I have Trey Lance in a couple leagues. One is a straight keeper league. One is a super flex keeper league. Why not? Well, why not with Trey Lance? This kid is he's going to be special. Curtis Samuel, Matthew. Oh no. It is his birthday. He may be, I know he was on earlier. He may be on auto draft now. He does get selected Irv Smith, who was just put on IR yesterday. All right. Then, Ramondre Stevenson. Boy, what a rise this preseason has given the late round running back out of Oklahoma. Jared is on the clock, and we're once again we're waiting for Jared. All right, so let's see. Okay, so Jared's got to be on auto draft now. He's got a kicker. Let's see. Are we gonna have to wait the full minute and a half for Jared again? Here, let's send him a message. And Jared takes another wide receiver. So Jared now through 13 picks has 3 running backs. And that again, Christian McCaffrey makes up for some of it, but A.J. Dillon, Zach Moss is not going to cut it. It's so. Remember, I had said I'd be comfortable with Justin Fields. If Justin Fields is there at the end of or with my pick in the 13th round, I will feel comfortable taking him just as a keep away. I think as I said, there's a better chance that Justin Fields is going to be on the field earlier than Trey Lance. One, because I believe in Jimmy Garoppolo more than I believe in Andy Dalton. So sue me. All right, Emmanuel Sanders now comes off the board. All right, so we're going to we're getting into the very end of the draft. We're gonna sign off right after I make my next pick, because right after that it's going to be a defense and a kicker for me. If you need any tips with defenses and kickers, reach out to me. You can find me on Twitter. I am at rstern33. The show is on Twitter at ZeroTechPod. Make sure you're following Backsportspage on all social media at Backsportspage. Checking out backsportspage.com for all the great content by these great writers that we have, not just in this draft, but also we've got some great baseball writers. We've got great basketball writers. We've got some great hockey writers, and one of them, Austin, is also in this draft. So just great stuff going on over at backsportspage.com. So make sure you are tuning in. Again, this is the Zero Technique podcast. I am going to be with other great writers from the site. Wednesdays are going to be our general football show. We are going to work in a regular weekly fantasy show, but also Sunday morning, the lineup show. You have questions about who to start in your lineup. We are going to also give you studs, and sleepers for DFS purposes to go along with your season-long leagues. So make sure you are, if you're on Facebook, follow Backsports Page. If you're on Twitter, at Backsports Page. But especially on YouTube. www.youtube.com/backsports page. Make sure you're clicking the bell, subscribing. You'll be able to get access to the great shows that Backsports page is putting out. Plus, you'll also get to find when the fantasy shows are going to be up there. They will be Sunday mornings. We'll try and get them as close to kickoff as possible. My daughter does do cheerleading, so she does have some Sunday morning, Sunday games. We will work around those to make sure we're getting the show out to you. But again, make sure you're following me on Twitter. Follow the show on Twitter and also on Facebook. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We are one pick away from me not getting Justin Fields because Adam, I swear, he's got to be listening because he just took Trey Lance and Justin Fields, and he's too smart of a player to have two backup quarterbacks. You're listening, Adam. I know you are. So that ruins my my plans at getting one of those guys later in the draft. So now I'm just going to look at running back depth. Let's filter to the running backs. And as you can see, there is not a whole lot. So what I'm going to do, and it's something that I usually don't do. I usually don't go and no, it doesn't make sense because of the bye week. I was going to say I was going to look into someone like a Tyson Williams to back up to handcuff my my Gus Edwards pick, but that would then leave me with I do have Ronald Jones as a week 9. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go with the upside handcuff and Tyson Williams. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you have any fantasy questions, shoot them over to me at rstern33. I will also be joining friend of the show, John Lobb from footballdiehards.com, Fantrax, NFL Draft Bible. You can find his stuff everywhere. I will be in his league that's drafting tomorrow night. He may be streaming that. So if he does, check out at Gridiron Skull. That's Gridiron SCHOL 91 on Twitter. All right, everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.